The Cleveland Cavaliers are moving on to the Eastern Conference semifinals after a wild up and down 7-game series with the Toronto Raptors. The Cavs are a winner over Toronto, and they are moving on to Detroit. It'll be Cleveland and the Pistons. That series will start Tuesday night on NBCSN and Peacock, and then there were 8 as we welcome you into the association. A Sunday night edition, the Knicks and the Sixers. They'll get the party started tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. Spurs and Timberwolves from San Antonio as well. And then on Tuesday night, it'll be Cavs, Pistons, and you got the Thunder and the Lakers. Antonio Daniels, 4th overall pick of the 1997 NBA draft. You can find him on Sirius XM. He's an NBA champion from 99. Antonio, let's get right to it. The Cavaliers and the Raptors were tied at halftime. They were tied through 6.5 games of this series if you look at the total score. And then Cleveland, a big second half to win this one, 114-102. What changed? Who changed this game?
Jared Allen. Jared Allen changed the game, or honestly, the size of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because when you look at a lot of the stats, okay, a lot of them are even. When you look at three-pointers and turnovers and all these areas, there are 2 areas that really stand out. One is rebounds. Cleveland out-rebounded the Toronto Raptors 60-33. And the other one is Cleveland had 20 offensive rebounds to only 7 by the Toronto Raptors. Cleveland's size, whether it was Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, their size was too much for the Toronto Raptors to deal with.
Think about this in this game. It's not like Donovan Mitchell and James Harden were world beaters. James Harden shot 3 for 9. Donovan Mitchell, it was fine, but he shot 2 of 9 from 3. He had 22 points. Harden had 18. But we often talk about in these series, especially ones that go longer, who steps up outside of your main guys? And that was the question heading into the second half. And perhaps this is where you felt, okay, no Brandon Ingram. Scotty Barnes gets in foul trouble. They didn't have Emmanuel quickly throughout the whole series. Toronto put up a valiant effort. But, Antonio, you're saying there at the half, and you're saying if you're Cleveland, who's it going to be? Max Strus and Sam Merrill are providing a punch. Who's it going to be? Evan Mobley goes to the bench in this game fairly early in the third quarter with 4 fouls. And I think the vibe from the outside was, this gives Toronto an opening. Jared Allen said, enough is enough. I'm taking matters into my own hands. What a performance, Antonio. 22 points, 19 rebounds, 3 blocks. You said he looks like who out there tonight?
Prime Ralph Sampson. He looked like prime Ralph Sampson out there today. He was every bit of fantastic. And if you watch the first game, we heralded and talked a ton about Tobias Harris and how much he was needed for the Detroit Pistons to win in Game 7 alongside Cade Cunningham. In this particular game, if I would have told you coming into a game that had Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and Scotty Barnes on the floor, that the best player on the floor would be Jared Allen, that speaks volumes about his impact. He did a great job tonight at using his size, his athletic ability, and his agility to dominate the game on both ends versus the Toronto Raptors.
60-33 on the glass. 60-33 for the Cavaliers. Jared Allen is our association player of the game. Look, this is a Cleveland team that we talked about it before this game. I would argue that next to the 1 seeds, there wasn't a team heading into the first round of the playoffs with more pressure on them than the Cavaliers.
Agreed.
Because the window is now. You're staring into it right now. And had they lost this game, Antonio, there would have been some major repercussions because you're talking about leadership there that expects to do what? Expects to contend for championships. It's the only way Dan Gilbert thinks, and good for him. It's what makes him one of the best in the NBA. They come into tonight. You could feel it early, Antonio. Like, Toronto was
Pressure.
outplaying the Cavs. They were dictating the game. The Cavs needed an enforcer. Allen supplied that. How about Max Strus in this game? Defensively all over the place, then hitting some big shots. Sam Merrill played fearlessly. Even a guy like Jaden Tyson, who stepped up as a younger guy on this team and did some good things. The supporting cast for Cleveland on a night, Antonio, where it's now or never, they really showed up with how much attention defensively Toronto gave to Harden and Mitchell.
Sometimes, John, you need guys to outplay their expectation to be successful. You need other guys to outplay their expectation, right? And you had guys tonight that outplayed their expectation. I don't mean offensively, I mean totally, right? If you look at, I tell you one of the things Max Strus is not known for. He's not known for his defense. But I tell you what, he bought it today. He outplayed his expectation defensively because he became an irritant defensively. And I felt like his energy, his defensive energy in that third quarter helped sway the game. It helped turn the game. Donovan Mitchell got this team off to a great start in the third quarter. And then it was almost like he handed it over to Max Strus, to Sam Merrill, to Jalen Tyson, to Jared Allen, to all the other guys. And those guys end up outplaying their expectations. That's huge in a game 7, because now if you look at the other side for the Toronto Raptors, and you brought it up earlier, John, they're without Brandon Ingram, they're without Emmanuel Quickly, right? So now you need other guys for the Toronto Raptors to outplay their expectation. In a game 7, that didn't happen today. But you're right. Toronto, being undermanned and outmatched, showed a very, very valiant effort on the road. Cleveland was too big and too physical today when it mattered most.
The wine and gold, they outscored Toronto 38-19 in quarter number 3. That's the difference in the game. You outscore them 38-19. They shut down Toronto offensively. Toronto was not able to do the same things on the offensive end of the floor that they had done throughout much of this series. Much of this series, the story was, Antonio, where's Cleveland's defense? Yeah, they've got 2 bucket getters in Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, but there's zero resistance happening from this club against the Toronto team that you enter the series, they were bottom 10 in perimeter shooting. They weren't really known for their offense. They were known for their length and versatility. Toronto shoots 8 for 28 from 3. Jamal Shed goes 5 for 16 from the floor. And look, he and Jacoby Walter, and we talked, Colin Murray-Boyles helped his stock a lot in this series. We'll get to Toronto in a bit here in their future, because I thought Coach Rajakovic did a tremendous job with his team.
Agreed.
But at the end of the day, it was the balance of Cleveland stood out. And the moment that they started to move the ball, too, like Antonio, the ball was stuck throughout much of the first half. Things really changed. This game went on. I did think, and if you have another thought on this, whether it's agree or disagree, I thought Donovan Mitchell, as the game went on, he became a really good facilitator and said, you know what, I'm going to ride these guys' hot hands.
And I like when stars are okay allowing the game to breathe. Allowing the game to breathe and trusting in those that are on the floor with you. Because you know what Toronto does a great job of? They do a great job of loading up and tilting the floor toward Donovan Mitchell, tilting the floor toward James Harden. Basically saying, if we're going to lose, we're not going to lose because James Harden and Donovan Mitchell beat us. It's going to have to be Jared Allen. It's going to have to be Sam Merrill. It's going to have to be Jalen Tyson. It's going to have to be Max Strus. And you know what? It was. It was. So sometimes as a coach, you can come into a game 7 with a game plan and say, if we lose, this is how we're going to lose. These guys have to outplay their expectation. And they did. They did, because Toronto did a fantastic job throughout the course of this series on both Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. Other guys for Cleveland stepped up at the right time, though.
Let's go right to the podium. Cavs head coach, the winning head coach, moving on to the Eastern Conference semifinals to meet the Detroit Pistons Tuesday night. Cavs head coach Kenny Atkinson.